just alienating common sense voters, while progressives believe. One of the rifts in the Democrat Party is over the use of quote unquote buzzwords, and if the push for inclusivity is actually just alienating common sense voters, while progressives believe talking about equity and food insecurity or birthing people is vital. Most people, moderates, everybody, feel differently. The Washington Post piece says, quote, they contend that liberal candidates too often use language from elite, highly educated circles that suggest the speakers consider themselves smart and virtuous while casting implied judgment on those who speak more plainly. Hardly a formula for winning people over. And this is on top of a New York Times report that Democrats are spending $28 million to gain back support from young men. It is even codenamed SAM, which is short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan.
Former Michigan gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon joins us now. Tudor, good morning to you. There is so much going on here.
Just when I think the Democrat Party can't get any freaking lower, a new report comes out and it shows me that these people are working on taking their numbers into the negative. Now, in this video, I'm going to bring you up to speed with this bombshell article that the New York Times put out. And you know the New York Times, they are a left-leaning, radical supporting outlet. And whenever they put out information that is denigrating to the Democrat Party, you know they're doing even worse than that, because nothing pleases them more than to say, oh, Trump negative, Republicans negative, Democrats, yay, even when they're doing some BS. But when it's just too much piling up to high, they just got to be honest for a chance. Kind of like what Jake Tapper running around trying to do with that new book he put out, Original Sin, where he's letting us in on how, you know, everybody was duped by the Biden White House, even though he was a part of it. And now he's trying to save face. And we're going to touch on that too a little bit. But in this one, I'm going to show you video clips of what Democrats are saying when they're hit with the backlash of just how terrible Americans believe their party is. Now, in this article here by the Post, I'm going to share some insight. They polled voters and asked them to compare the Democrats to an animal and Republicans to an animal. And what you're going to hear them say will blow your mind. Then there's a clip of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And if you don't know who this miserable congressional woman is, you're going to learn today. And then a clip from Ro Khanna, who is extremely delusional. And then we're going to finish it up with Gavin Newsom and his lying, double talking self, and how he's trying to use technology on the American people to try to snake his way into running for president in 2028. Well, we're going to put the kibosh on that. So let's get off into this article, because this is wild. The Democrats are doing so terrible that the left-wing outlets can't hide it. They can't cover it up. They can't, because even if they try to, they've already lost all credibility. But even if they try to cover this up, they'll lose the few viewers that they got hanging on. So this right here says U.S. voters were asked to compare political parties to animals, and Dems were the weakest, slowest kind. Some voters think the Democrat Party should trade the donkey for a sloth or a deer in headlights, according to the revelations of a consultant who conducted more than 200 focus groups. Democratic researcher Anat Shinker-Osorio told the New York Times that voters she's spoken with tell her that Democrats will be the meekest and slowest members of the animal kingdom. Shinker-Osorio will typically ask the swing voters in some 250 focus groups to compare the two political parties to animals in hopes of getting people to divulge their true feelings. There's a picture of a sloth. The difference between the two sides is stark as the Democratic Party continues to lose support among key demographics and has poor approval scores. Dems are usually labeled as tortoises, slugs, or sloths by voters, Shinker-Osorio told the Times. One Democratic woman who lives in Georgia even said earlier this year she sees the party as deer in headlights. You stand there and you see the car coming, but you're going to stand there and get hit with it anyway. Shinker-Osorio recalled the woman saying. Meanwhile, Republicans are typically seen as lions, tigers, and sharks by voters because those animals are apex predators, the researcher told the Times. The Democrats' current mascot, the donkey, first emerged in the late 1820s when Andrew Jackson was running for president. Shinker-Osorio told the newspaper Democratic voters want lawmakers ready to take action instead of navel-gazing following the 2024 election of President Trump over former Vice President Kamala Harris. Voters are hungry for people to actually stand up for them or get caught trying, she said. The party is doing a lot of navel-gazing and not enough full belly acting. So really what they're trying to say is these radicals, they're expecting their politicians to go out and to get arrested in an attempt to stop President Trump. And let's just go ahead and make this known right now. The Democrats know that when they jump out of line and they do things illegal, if it could be just left kind of behind the scenes and with the courts, they'll win out because you got so many of these liberal, left-wing activist judges on their side. But when you bring it out to the stage of public opinion, the Democrat parties get destroyed because they don't have the lamestream media being able to spin it and trying to tell people to ignore what their eyes are seeing and what their ears have heard. Again, it's back to the Jake Tapper thing, and we're going to get into this video clip. Right now, Jake Tapper is going around saying, oh, you know what? The media has got to be transparent, and we've got to hold everybody accountable, you know, and that includes President Trump. I believe all of these records and yada, yada. So what they're doing, they're trying to spin what they ignored and what they overlooked and what they covered up for Biden. And now they're being so virtuous and they're being righteous and they're going to right these wrongs right now. And President Trump should turn over every single thing he's got about himself and his family and his health to the media for them to be able to, you know, report it right. They are so full of BS. See, this is the crap that the Democrats don't realize. We see you. You think nobody knows that y'all are going to try to spin this and use it on Trump, even though nobody cared about it in health when we were looking at it with Joe Biden. And they like to say, oh, we didn't know. How did y'all not know? But all of us knew. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid and hit that thumbs up, because I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat. But you hitting that like button, it really helps the channel, helps getting the information out there. And if you are subscribed to the Real Politics Podcast, subscribe. And once you do, make sure you hit that notification bell and then select all. And that way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. And y'all are supposed to be so educated and, you know, the people that really know how to do things and take care of the people. But y'all couldn't see this feeble man was falling down and didn't have his faculties. Oh, okay. So everybody was just blinded by that because no one from the White House tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, Joe Biden is having a mental decline. Okay. And the fact that nobody said that to them, that means that they didn't know, you know, it wasn't that bad when they were around him, even though his work days were only 4 or 5 hours long. And how many people were actually in front of him? Hell, he only had one cabinet meeting in like a year, and Jill Biden ran that. So you got to watch out for these left-wing extremist Democrats who always take a negative on him and try to spin it. Letitia James, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. Yada, yada. You're trying to defraud the lenders. And if it was any other American and it wasn't a rich billionaire, the government would throw the book at them. That's what she said when she was leading up to prosecute Trump. Now that she's got busted committing real fraud, now it's, you know, I just made a mistake. That's all. I made a mistake. No, I made a mistake. Even though I'm an attorney general, Trump was a businessman, but no, he couldn't make a mistake. No. Even though his property really was worth what they said it was worth. But in New York, they felt like it was only worth 18 million, not worth to the $500 million that is actually worth. No, in New York, Edgeron and Letitia James felt like it was worth 18 million. So they feel like Trump lied, even though the bank didn't say Trump lied. The bank got paid back early with interest, loved it, want to do business again. Letitia James and Judge Edgeron felt like their property is only worth $18 million. And Trump did wrong to the bank, even though the bank doesn't feel like it. But now with her, oh, I just made a mistake. You know, I made a couple mistakes on a couple mortgages. Y'all know, just a mistake. BS. So now we got Debbie Wasserman Schultz. This lady is one of the most miserable people you ever want to meet. And this CNN, her host, is going to ask her about the article we just read, where it's comparing Democrats and Republicans to animals. Now, I want you to listen to the propaganda-filled BS that she's going to try to spew, as if we don't all know what's really going on. Check this out.
The families that I represent, they don't want Republicans transferring, you know, more and more wealth to many more billionaires. They want to make sure that, like what Democrats did under Joe Biden, under a Democratic majority, we ensured that we cut taxes for the middle class, folks who put that money right back into the economy when they buy refrigerators with the windfall and other kinds of kinds of expenses.
I got to stop it right there. They never cut taxes for the middle class. Do you see how they're hijacking Trump stuff? Trump put those tax cuts in. As a matter of fact, if you remember, under the Biden administration, they wanted to let them expire. They wanted to let them expire. And what they were going to try to do is just reinstitute them, but then call it the Biden tax cuts, because they know the tax cuts that Trump put in, if they would have lifted them, the American people would have been spending $4,500 more a year. So they had to keep them in place. And now in the one big beautiful bill, President Trump has them in there permanent. But listen to this woman do what Democrats do and try to hijack it. I won't stop the clip again after this.
We made sure that we reduced prescription drug prices. We started to bring chip manufacturing back home. We passed the largest infrastructure and investment act in history, and now those jobs we're seeing come to fruition with rebuilding our infrastructure. That's what people want their government to do for them. They don't want a lawless dictator of a president who hires anti-Semites and who then acts like he's trying to fight to protect the Jewish community. The hypocrisy in this administration is appalling.
This woman is insane. Now, she talked about the infrastructure bill that they passed and did what? $7 billion went to build these electrical charging stations. Do y'all know how many were built out of that $7.5 billion? Excuse me, I believe it was $9 billion that was spent. Seven charging stations were built in those years from the infrastructure bill. Those jobs coming back. President Trump is facilitating getting those jobs back. You see, what they're going to try to do is, as President Trump's economy continues to build and grow good, they're going to say, see, that's what Joe Biden did. That's what Joe Biden did. But remember now, when Trump was in office the first time, his economy was revving. When Biden started tanking it, what did they tell us? Oh, that was Trump's economy. That was Trump's economy. Even though we know under President Trump, the economy was good. But under President Trump, when the economy was good, guess what they said? That was Barack Obama's economy. That was Obama's. So what they like to do when Trump is in office, they just want to skip everything around him. So just like when Trump took office this time, they want to act like, oh, what's he going to do for the economy? Oh, it's Trump's economy. We're just going to forget the last 4 years of what the Democrats did, just like she talked about the tax cuts, just like she talked about bringing jobs home. No, they're not. The Democrats were all about helping foreigners get their borders right, build up their economies. They were fighting mad that President Trump leveled the playing field against China, against Canada. Oh, they were going crazy. How dare we do that? How dare we ask them to make sure that we can benefit as mutual as them? Who does the United States think they are? And it is left-wing extremists like her that do this double talk crap. The only great thing that's happening right now, well, there's a lot of great things happening, but politically, is that people are waking up. And I'm going to speak specifically about my people, about black folks. I'm looking at the videos online. I'm seeing the people, regardless of how long it took them to get here to this point, but they're seeing it now. Because I believe when COVID happened and people got locked in their house, a lot of brainwashing went on. Do y'all know they literally had Hollywood directors helping the news networks stage the COVID reporting? Remember, they had the COVID number up on the screen. Every time there was another death, that ticker tape was going up. It was talking about how many people died, how many people got sick, and it literally stayed on the screen. It even had a ticker tape going around the bottom, like you were watching stocks. And you had people consumed by this. They couldn't go outside. They couldn't interact with their loved ones. And the only thing they had was their phone and their TV. And if you remember, under the Biden administration, they were suppressing any conservative information, anything that wasn't in line with the propaganda, talking about how, oh, you were going to be unalive from the MOVID, starts with a C though, that was running around, and how being around somebody, you run a risk of passing away and not being here anymore. And that if you saw a neighbor doing something, you should tell on them. I have relatives right now that are mentally destroyed from that time on COVID. They're paranoid for life. And this is how the Democrats took advantage of that. They brainwashed people. They made people who thought Trump was cool, all of the rappers and everything, all the way up until 2015. They were working on him throughout his presidency. And boy, as it got to about 2019, going into 2020, they went into overdrive. And then the pandemic came. Should I say the plandemic? It hit, and man, we're still dealing with the remnants of that now. But people are waking up, and the Democrat Party is being just knocked out of the box. And we have to make sure these folks never regain power. I just saw a report that said in AOC's district in the Bronx, crime since she's been in Congress has increased 70% in her area in the Bronx. And make no mistake, the worse you destroy your city or your state, the more likely it is for you to be the Democrat Party front runner. Really, peep what I'm saying. It sounds funny, but it's real. Look at the ones who end up becoming leaders in that party. When you can show you can run down the city and still get the people to like you and support you, that's who they want, because they need somebody that can sell this BS. And that's why Gavin Newsom is so scary. But he is just so radical, and California has been destroyed so bad that I just don't see this man even being a serious contender. But knowing how the TV works, the lamestream media, and just how people are so ran down with politics that they might not pay attention to what's going on. But that's why we need people like yourself, other people in the independent media, myself, to keep spreading this information and sharing it to make sure that we keep them, we block them like Matumbo. They cannot get those spots back. Now, Ro Khanna, who's another, oh, I'm sorry, not Ro Khanna. Let me go to this. Gavin Newsom. We just talking about Gavin Newsom. And as you heard at the beginning of this video, the Democrat Party's objective is to get men back, right? So they even got the acronym SAM, which is Speaking with American Men. And these folks are so out, they are just ignorant. You just can't have a conversation with a guy. You got to literally create acronyms and a game plan to communicate with men who just want to know, hey, you're going to stop beating down on masculinity. You're going to stop blaming every negative thing on men. You're going to stop suppressing the voice of men. You're going to stop it. You're going to stop trying to encourage our wives to be disloyal. You're going to stop it. And we're going to stop. And so with these types of things going on, the Democrat Party will not regain men, because any man affiliated with that side seems like they got a little sugar in their tank. Now, I know that's not the truth, but they're some of the most feminine active men I've ever seen. But Gavin Newsom, in his bid to try to move more moderate, he's been speaking out against all the acronyms and all of the woke stuff, right? But here's the problem, Gavin. You were one of the main people pushing it. Now, to show you just how the Democrats are so hypocritical and will lie to you, you're going to hear Gavin Newsom say that he doesn't understand where all of this acronym crap came from and talking weird to different cultures and minorities. He doesn't understand. But what CNN did, because once he tried to move away from the transgender topic, oh, the left didn't like that. They pounced on him. So CNN did the work for us. They put together a montage to show how willing Gavin Newsom is to lie directly to you and to me, even though you're on video, brother. Check this out.
By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
We agree?
where did that even
No
come-
more
I'm like,
Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about?
But there was a person who used Latinx. It was actually a really important person. It was him. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, these aren't minor shifts. These are progressive issues that Gavin Newsom used to champion until fairly recently. And now he's not just walking away from them. He's sort of acting like they were never legitimate with that clip talking about Latinx in the first place. But let's take Latinx. We did find somebody who used it repeatedly in his office. Let's take a listen to this.
I hope we can really paint a picture in terms of our consciousness of how impactful this has been on the Latinx community. The Latinx and Black communities. You've got politicians that are banning not assault rifles, but the word Latinx. They're not even serious. By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
We agree?
So as you just heard, Gavin Newsom is sitting there like, I don't know, nobody in my office ever used that. Who in the world? Why would? But yet he's on video using it repeatedly. You see how these people lie? You see how easy it is for these people to lie and misrepresent. And this is what the Democrat Party is all about. Now they're going to try to sell the American people that they're fighting for them, even though they're not working on any legislation. Their whole thing is, we don't like Trump. Trump was Hitler, and Trump was going to destroy the economy. We got 4 or 5 year lows on inflation. Grocery prices are down. Gas prices are down. Jobs report are up, specifically in the private sector. Under the Biden administration, jobs were up for government jobs. And that's why you've seen the Democrats fighting so hard for those government jobs. They're fighting for government jobs harder than they would for private sector jobs. Why? Because the Democrats believe the government should control everything. They're socialists. They really believe in a communist utopia. You heard about allegedly the minority speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, enjoys communist-themed freak-offs with Diddy with young Latin men dressed like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. If that tells you anything about these people that we're dealing with. So I just wanted to bring this to you just to show you the Democrat Party. They've fallen off the cliff and they're never coming back. They're going to try to implement SAM, which is, remember, Speaking with American Men, to try to lure back and win the man vote. And they're spending $20 million on this. Can you imagine that? Spending millions of dollars just to have a conversation with Americans. These folks think they're so high and mighty. They come up with all these creepy, freaky words like food insecurities. Did you hear that? Food insecurities means you don't have groceries, or birthing person. That's what you and I know as a mother or a mama or a mom. No, they're a birthing person. My wife went crazy when she heard that. My mother flipped out. I said, don't call me no freaking birthing person. or a cis woman. I ain't made. They feel like they are women. They are women. And luckily for us guys, we didn't, we don't play that crap. So we haven't had them trying that on this side. Just like you don't see a whole lot of women trying to get in men's sports, do you? You always see all these weak-hearted men trying to jump on the women's sports, but that's a whole nother video. But I just wanted to bring this to you and just give you something to smile about, that the Democrat Party, when I say they're deep in the toilet, I mean the Republicans would have to do something so boneheaded. And listen, I am not going to put it past them, because we still got some spineless rhinos on our team. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. Did you know Lindsey Graham doesn't have children, but he's the biggest war hawk we got in the party? I never trust people that's always speaking about war, but don't have any children that they would have to sacrifice to go fight in that war. We got Linda Murkowski, Susan Murkowski. We know that she's a freaking traitor. You got to get her out of here out there in Alaska. And just pay attention. Keep your ear to the ground, because as this momentum, and especially as we go into the midterms, we need everybody pushing the line, spreading the information out there, getting the people to the polls for your city council, for the mayor, for the city council, for your governors, for your state senators. We got to get people to the polls for the midterm. So we're going to push the midterms. But thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for watching. If you stayed to this part, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, I want you to be safe and you stay great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.